Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. Let's talk books. But today I'm here with one of my favorite videos I do all year, and it is a look back at 2020 and talking about my favorite romances of 2020. So these are not necessarily books that came out in 2020. In fact, I think a lot of these did not, but it is my favorite books, favorite romance books that I read in 2020. And I am going to talk about them in order from kind of bottom of the best pile all the way up to my favorite romance novel of 2020. So let's start at the bottom. So number 11 on this list, yes, I cheated. There are no rules in this though, right? But my favorite, number 11 on this list is The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. So this is part of, I think it's just the Wedding Date series, but this follows Alexa's wedding. Alexa's the main female character from the first book, and her best friend, actually two of her best friends, begin basically a friends with benefits relationship because they clearly have a lot of sexual chemistry, but they seem to not like each other in person. And then the relationship evolves from that, and of course you get the happily ever after. This one I really liked. I felt like Jasmine Guillory here demonstrated how her writing is evolving very positively, because the kind of chemistry she writes between these two characters was fabulous. It made me really like both of them, and it made me root for them, and that is like the basics of what I look for in a romance novel. And then number 10 on my list is Long Shot by Kennedy Bryant. This is a sports novel, and I'm not usually attracted to sports romance novels because I'm not really into sports, and so I don't care about the life of athletes and the people in this world. And yet I really wanted to read something by Kennedy Bryant, and this one actually sounded really good. It's about this couple that have good dynamics, have good chemistry, but they meet at a time in which the female character is in a relationship with a different basketball player. Right, they're in college, they're in this relationship, and even though there's an attraction between the hero and the heroine's in a different relationship, and so they go their separate ways. Both the hero and then the man that the heroine is in a relationship with end up at the NBA. They're both all-stars, all that kind of thing. But major trigger warning in this particular book because it deals with domestic violence. Not between the hero and the heroine, but the heroine ends up getting married to this other NBA star and having a kid with him. And, throughout their lives, they keep meeting up because she's a basketball wife and he's a basketball star. Now, I have to be really clear that the content warning here is not just for domestic violence, but also for rape. There's very clear rape in this book. There's a scene that is way too explicit. It was really explicit for me. It was difficult to read, and I wish that Kennedy Bryant had left it out. But it's still, like, it didn't ruin the entire book for me. It's just something that you need to be aware of if you are thinking about picking it up. The next book on my list is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Wilde. This is a female-female romance set in 19th century Europe. Is it France? Might be England. Yeah, 19th century England. Between these two women, one of who is a widow. Her husband was a renowned scientist, and our other heroine is the daughter of a renowned scientist. The two men had corresponded during their lives, but now both men have passed away, and the women have connected. And it turns out they have great chemistry, but we live in a world in which these women have talents that they can't always exercise because they're women. And so they have to kind of find ways around that and kind of ways of breaking barriers in terms of their talents and in science and in art, in the art world, but then also the barriers of a female-female relationship during this time. It's an amazing historical romance. If you're trying to get your foot into historical romance, this is a great place to start. The heat level, I would say it's about medium, but yeah, historical romance was where I started with romance novels, and this was fantastic to get back into it. So I highly recommend it. The next book on my list is The Duchess War by Courtney Milan. So this is book 1 of the Brother Sinister series, which is one of her most beloved series. I really love The Duchess War. It's one of those books that's incredibly feminist, and this is true a lot of most of the of a lot of the modern romance novels. They're incredibly feminist. The women in these stories, even when it's a historical romance, are really strong characters. That was the case here. You have Miss Minerva Lane, who is a kind of quiet little wallflower, but she's incredibly smart. The problem was just that in a society that does not value smart women, she just has to basically shut down. But in comes this hero, Robert, the Duke of Claremont, and our heroine decides she's gonna blackmail him. She finds information and that she thinks she can blackmail him for, and he is more than ready to spend some more time with our heroine. It's not a super long novel. If you're trying to read Courtney Milan and get into her books, or if you want to read really smart, bright, witty historical romances, I think this is a good place to start. The Duchess War by Courtney Milan. So that was a lot of fun for me. The next book that on my list, oh sorry, the dogs are doing things, is How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. This is actually, was it the last romance novel I read in 2020? It might have been. I picked this up on December 23rd and spent the entire night reading this book. Ooh, content warning, because this is another one that deals with domestic abuse. And I swear I don't look for these books. I really don't. But I knew that this was a book that was going to engage with this topic, and I picked it up anyways because I thought I was just going to read a chapter or two before bed. And it's just so engaging. Unlike the Kennedy Ryan book, this book is not explicit with the domestic abuse, and it actually takes place after the domestic abuse has already occurred. So it's more about the heroine dealing with that abuse now that she is falling in love with somebody new, right? That she has been able to kind of suppress a lot of the domestic abuse that she experienced, but now being in a new relationship brings up all of those issues and forces her to deal with them. The heroine is a professor, and the hero works for a consulting firm that's consulting with the university. So there's a bit of a conflict of interest that is handled so well. In the writing, it sparkles. The writing in this book sparkles. I immediately went to look to see what else Williams had written, because I was just like, I need to read more from her. And it turns out this is her debut novel, and I just cannot wait to see what else she has in store for us, because the writing here was just so fantastic. The chemistry between the characters, the way she's able to make a book that really does deal with domestic abuse and just make it fun. It makes you laugh. And I cannot say enough wonderful things about How to Fail at Flirting. It's just fantastic. The next book on my list is a holiday novella. It is Holiday Home Run by Priscilla Oliveras. Novellas usually are not, I tend to have problems with novellas, especially romance novellas, because oftentimes there's not enough time to build a relationship, to build the chemistry between the characters. And that was definitely not the case here with Holiday Home Run. It is the story of a Puerto Rican heroine who is ready to leave Puerto Rico and ready to leave her family so that she can develop her career more. And so she goes to Chicago to organize this event in the hope that if this event goes well, that she's got a career in Chicago. enter the MLB star, who is kind of like the headliner for the event, and they end up working together, and she wants nothing to do with any MLB players. She is sick of following her brothers and their baseball careers, and of course they fall in love. And this one worked for me because it felt like the relationship developed very nicely. Even though it's in a short period of time, the hero and the heroine connect over community work and over social justice issues, and that really just warmed my heart. So this is actually a really good one for people to start with if you just want a taste of romance, and if you are looking for something set, in the holidays. The next book on my list is You Had Me At Hola by Alexis Daria. Alexis Daria is just such a fun writer. Like, everything I read from her is just freaking fun. In this story, you have I think they're both Puerto Rican. Well, they're both Latinx characters. They are both kind of former soap stars that are trying to break into Hollywood. And so they are filming a series for like a Netflix type streaming service, and they're using their like soap opera novela experience here. I really liked the aspect of how they filmed the sex scenes. They have an intimacy coach, and so there's a lot of explicit consent here as they work through their fake on-screen relationship, and then how that transforms into a real life romance, because initially they really don't actually like each other very much. And they have very different kind of work styles, but then they have chemistry both on the screen and off the screen eventually, but it's something they have to work on a little bit at. The Latinx aspects in here just warmed my heart. The big family for our heroine, that's an important part of her life, that she, that's important in her life, and that will be important part of for anybody who wants to have a relationship with her. It was all super heartwarming. My third favorite book, my third favorite romance novel of 2020 was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. So in this story, our heroine, Chloe, has a chronic illness. And Talia Hibbert, that is not something that I've had to deal with, but from Own Voices reviewers, I hear that she handled that really well. Hibbert herself, I think, has experience with chronic illness. And so our heroine is trying to, has good control of her illness, and she wants to live a more independent life. So she moves out of the family home and rents an apartment. And it turns out that not the landlord, but the manager of the complex is really hot and really nice, sweet cinnamon bun guy. Also, they have got great chemistry. They have great fun together. I just love it. I am a sucker for cinnamon bun heroes, and this is such a sweet one. I loved the hero in this. The consent in this book, the care with which the hero interacts with the heroine, it's everything I love in a romance story. But I think even if you don't like sex scenes in your books, that you might be able to handle this, because there's a limited number of them, and it's more about the chemistry and relationship building between the characters. But if you're somebody who needs to have the sex scenes in the story, I think the ones in here work really well within the story as well. So there you go. All right, my second favorite romance novel of 2020 was Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. So this was my first Beverly Jenkins. It was not my last one and will not be the last one, but Indigo is set during the Civil War in the United States. Is it the Civil War? No. It's set right before the Civil War in the United States. Both the hero and the heroine kind of work for the Underground Railroad in different aspects of it. Our hero has been hurt during some sort of confrontation, and he ends up at the heroine's house, and she has to basically hide him in her house and kind of help him with his health so that he can leave. So much fun ensues. Again, this is the year 2020 in which I rediscovered historical romances, which again was my entryway into romance novels. And Beverly Jenkins is a queen. She's the queen of historical romance novels. Actually, she writes contemporaries as well, but I haven't gotten to any of those. Everything I have read from her now in the historical romance category has been fantastic. This is one of her like older, extremely beloved novels, and I really loved it. A few things to note here about the tropes. We do have a heroine who is a virgin, and her virginity is very prized in this novel, you know, like a big deal is made out of it, and about how, you know, the hero will not deflower the innocent virgin, which I know not everybody is going to like. I kind of rolled my eyes at all the virginity talk, but it did not impact my enjoyment of this book at all. You also have a hero and a heroine who are both black, right? Both working for the Underground Railroad, both of whom have some degree of power and wealth in their communities and know how to use it, which I really appreciated. Because it's Beverly Jenkins, you also know that this is all historically accurate and extremely well researched. And it's also just a sweet, great story. I loved it, okay? I cannot say enough good things about it. If you are all interested, go take a look at it and see if it's going to be the right one for you, because it just worked extremely well for me. And then we get to my favorite romance novel of 2020. And this is a book that is not going to be for everybody because it's sci-fi romance. It's like speculative fiction too. It's set in a not so distant future, and it is called, I should tell you the name, huh? It is The AI Who Loved Me by Alyssa Cole. I love Alyssa Cole, okay? I've read her historical romance novels, which I love. I love her contemporary royal series. But my God, can she write really good like sci-fi romance? You have a character who doesn't leave her apartment. She's experienced some sort of trauma that she's dealing with. We're not quite sure what it is at the beginning of the story. But then next door to her, her neighbor's nephew or something comes in, and she tries to help them because apparently he's gone through some trauma as well recently. And so she's like, well, I know how that is. I should talk to the guy. And it turns out that the next door love interest is an AI. There's much more to it though. Like, I don't want to give anything away. It's not a super long story, but it's like, if that interests you at all, please go take a look at it. Originally, this was an Audible original. So I listened to the audiobook, but now you can find it in ebook. I'm not sure you can find it in physical copy yet, but it is a freaking fantastic story. The voices, there's a full cast of people who did the voices, including some famous names. And I didn't even, like, the famous names didn't take me out of the story. Sometimes if it's somebody who has a voice that's way too recognizable, it'll take you out of the story. That did not happen for me here. It was just such a well-paced sci-fi book. The sci-fi elements were super interesting. Like, I would love to get a full book set in this world because it's super intricate, and like, I want to dig more into this world. And Alyssa Cole gives you enough in the story to, like, you know, be interested, but it's also not a long book, so you're like left wanting more, in the best way possible, not in a, oh, that was unsatisfying way, but in a, oh my God, I love this, I want more. So at this point, it's just a really good book, and it was my favorite one of 2020. With romance novels, I have to say, since I've come to the end of the list, that I think tropes really matter. Some people really like certain tropes and really hate others. So hopefully I've given you enough of these books to kind of let you pick and choose. With this list, I have to say, I can't just say, like, read all of them. No. If you're into historical romances, then I think you will really like the ones that I recommend here. If you're not into historical romances, stay away from them. right? There are a few of these books that I think I can kind of universally recommend. Two of those are Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I think almost anybody that picks this book up is just really going to enjoy it. Even if you don't love it as much as I do, you're gonna enjoy it. Same with You Had Me At Hola. I think this is just a quite an enjoyable book, and these two are ones where I think the tropes matter a little bit less, that the writing is just, you know, that good and kind of works for a wide array of people. So hopefully my reviews and like the little bits I shared about each of these books you know, tells you enough to know whether you should pick it up or not. If you've read any of these books, if you would like to read any of them, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.